I really need to get a new NAS. This one is outdated. It's old. It's not supported anymore. Storage. I got stuff too many different places. It's a Wednesday afternoon, and been working away, dealing with collection agencies. So I want to talk a little bit about what happens when somebody doesn't pay their bill to you. How do you handle that? What do you do? Especially in my case, my customer is in a different state, and not good, not a good situation. But the short version is this. Last June, I sold a company out of New York some software. They were actually a consultant and who's turned around and resold it to somebody else. And then they complained that the software didn't work like it was supposed to. And we made sure our support people got involved, and ultimately went back and forth, and they offered to finally pay for the software, and then they never did. And then our calls went unanswered. And it turned out that it was a misconfiguration on their network, which the work they did was misconfigured. The network wasn't set up properly. Our engineers got on the phone, helped them get their network sorted out so our software would run, and they still refused to pay. Promised a check was in the mail, never paid. And it was like $3,000. My choice was to hire a lawyer out of state. It can take months and months and months, if not years, in the state of New York to get a small claims case heard. There, it's pretty bad. So what I found was a collection agency that is nationwide, national. And I turned the account over to them back in September, because you don't want to sit around with accounts receivable. You really don't. You want to get those collected as quickly as possible. So, I mean, I was fair, I was reasonable, but after being lied to so much, so often, I gave up and turned it over to a collection agency. And now, all these months later, now they're disputing the debt, saying the software didn't work as advertised, even though I've got all these records indicating otherwise, and the fact that the customer also told the collection agency that the check was in the mail. You don't want to do, if you don't owe a debt, the last thing you want to do is tell the creditor that the check is in the mail, because that is an admission, an acknowledgement that yes, you do owe the debt, and that can be used against you in a small claims court. I love my garage. I'm a guy. I love being around tools and cars and woodworking stuff. It's just something I really enjoy doing, and it's kind of, I'm out here having a cup of coffee. I'm going to have a little project, a little home project that I want to work on. And I just want to talk to you a little bit about goal setting. I think we get too focused on tasks and forget about the goal. What I try to do is take my goals and accommodate my schedule to at least try to do something every day that gets me one step closer to my goal. Because I think it's really easy to get overwhelmed with the tasks and the busy work and all this stuff, and rather than concentrating on doing things that helps you get towards that goal. And I've got multiple goals that I want to accomplish, but life does get in the way. And I've got my mom. She's not doing very well, and she's in like a nursing home type of place. And so we're dealing with that as a family, trying to take care of her and her property and all the legal stuff that has to be done. So she's provided with good care. That was kind of put on my shoulders. And so life does happen. That's my point. Life happens, and you have to be prepared both mentally and emotionally and physically to have the stamina to deal with all this kind of stuff. And if you are self-employed, depending on your business and how many employees you got, sometimes you feel like the whole world is sitting on your shoulders, but that's not a downer. This is not meant to be a downer, because you have the strength in you, believe it or not, to handle anything life throws your way. Now, sometimes it may not feel like it, but the reality is that we do, and we have to stay focused in one way or another on that prize, that goal. Hello, Sadie. Ooh, what's a good girl, huh? Yes, what's a good girl? You're so cute. So it's a Thursday, and I'm on my way to an attorney's office, a elderly care or elderly attorney. So the whole purpose of that is when you're dealing with a family member who needs to go to a long-term care facility, aka nursing home, that is not covered by Medicare. A lot of people are surprised to find out that is not covered. If there's not a possibility of you coming back home, then, in other words, if it's permanent, Medicare does not cover that, neither does private insurance. So, the problem is with nursing homes is that at least the one my mom's in is over $7,000 a month. And that has to be paid out of pocket until her money is gone, because that's the way it works if you hope to get Medicaid to pay for the nursing home. You can only have no real assets. And Mom owns some property and a car, and she had a little bit of savings. So why the elderly care attorney is involved is because there are legal strategies that you can use. So you can preserve some of the assets using a elderly care lawyer. And they charge quite a penny for their services, but ultimately it's worth it. And there's a lot involved in getting somebody set up on this, especially when no one has power of attorney over them, for example, or guardianship. And this whole thing was something kind of went down all at once last fall. And so, you just can't you really do need a professional to hold your, if there's any way possible to get the funds together to hire an elderly care attorney, that is the way to go. So it's Friday, Inauguration Day, January the 20th. I was able to catch some of the inauguration on YouTube live. And I think that's one of the most beautiful things about our democracy, which is the peaceful transfer of power when an outgoing president welcomes and greets the incoming president. It's just something I find very, very cool. Something wonderful about the United States of America. Now, we may not always agree politically, but one thing I think we can all agree upon is that probably it's one of the best systems, if not the best system. So, yeah, it was kind of cool to watch it. It's something I've kind of always wanted to do my whole life, was actually go to an inauguration, but odds are I probably won't. Something that I'm going to be reviewing in the near future is I actually was sent this action cam really a long time ago. I have yet to get around to reviewing it. Now, I've never owned an action cam. I've always kind of looked at the GoPros and thought, maybe I'll get one someday. And then this was sent to me for review, which is essentially a GoPro clone. It is a 1080p, so it's not a 4K camera. The thing about this particular model, there is nothing from the manufacturer's name on here at all. Not a thing. Just says made in China. 1080p. Let's see, video 30 frames per second, H2.64. 720p at 60 frames a second. 170 degree wide angle lens. Waterproof up to 30 meters. Built-in Wi-Fi, BGN, 2-inch LCD. Takes a micro SD card, which I don't. I need to provide for this thing. And it's got a micro USB and HDMI output on it. So included a waterproof housing, the handlebar mount, helmet slide, charger, quick clip, a USB cable. I'm assuming you can probably use accessories for the GoPro. Just enjoys a small business ownership. And oh yes, of course today I had to get the payment out for my because I pay myself salary in addition to taking dividends. That's the other thing. I'm a sub-S corporation, which means that I can pay myself several different ways. And if you're smart, if you take a salary and you do pay into Social Security, and so you pay the FUTA, the SUTA, the FICA, you pay these things as well as county, state income taxes. You really should do that. But then part of the earnings of the business I take is what's called a distribution. I mean, a lot of sub-S people will try to take their entire pay as a distribution to avoid self-employment tax, which is, I believe, currently 15.3% of your salary. So there's strong motivation to take as much money as you can as a distribution. However, the Internal Revenue Service has made that a lot more difficult to do, especially if you got to do the work to make the money. It's not passive. It's not a qualified type of dividend like you would if you were in the stock market or you had investments. That's called a qualified dividend. But this is a unqualified, so you pay tax on as it would be your normal earnings. Pretty exciting stuff, right? But it can amount to thousands of dollars in taxes.